tell me about Dunbar High School, because Dunbar High School was one of the best high schools in the country.
Right there, Dunbar. That's what I left from. My stepfather called me on the phone one day, and said, you know, time you can go to high school now. You can go to Dunbar. I had been up there. I had been in Washington in sixth grade, I think it was, fifth or sixth grade, for a semester. But the difference was such that between Christmas, when Christmas came, when I was in Roanoke, they had a big Christmas tree, and I'm the only child, and the thing was loaded with stuff for me. And the Christmas I spent up there, they gave me a briefcase, I think. So
maybe they were pointing you toward being a lawyer.
No, they was just difference in economic situation for one thing, and they didn't know anything about raising kids either. But anyway, so I went back to Roanoke. But then while I was in Washington, I heard about Dunbar. So he said, "Why don't you, if you come on up here, you can go to Dunbar High School." So I jumped at the opportunity.
Now, what did you heard about Dunbar? What made Dunbar attractive?
Well, the question about Dunbar was regarded as one of the finest high schools in the country. So, see, back in those days, there weren't too many opportunities for Negroes with advanced degrees and all those sort of things. And the highest salaries paid were in Washington. See, they had the system, had superintendents of schools, then they had 12th and 13th division, and the 12th was white and 13th was Negro, and they had this assistants all the way down the line, supposedly duplication, and they got the same salaries as white people got. As a matter of fact, teachers at Dunbar got much higher salaries than they did at Howard, and we had more PhDs at Dunbar than they had at any other Negro institution of learning at that time.
Now, was it a hard transition for you to go to this school from where you'd been before?
You said, was it what now?
A hard transition to find yourself in this Dunbar atmosphere.
Well, well, yes and no. As I say, see, I had plenty of self-esteem, and I used to tell people, looking back at it, I knew that I was in almost poverty for my first 6 years. During the next period of time, I lived in an upper middle class situation. I was a great big fish in a little bit of pond in Roanoke. When I went to Washington, I was a little bit of fish in a great big pond. But I had no problem adjusting, because although when I initially got there, I hung out with the kids. Well, I went out with a football team for one thing, and I got hung out with the kids from other side of the track, so to speak. And they were complaining about they couldn't make any trips because they couldn't get any money. And anyway, but I was in a temporary situation, but I felt like it was temporary. It didn't disturb me.